what the XX does have, and was a first for LOSI, was the Hydra Drive. And that's part of the slipper unit here. And the reason that I wanted to show everybody the car,
I always found it really confusing at the time because hyperdrive was the thing happening at the same time.
So it's basically a fluid-filled coupler device. Think of a torque converter in an automatic car.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So it has locks onto the spur gear itself with a spline.
Yes.
And anyway, but it does weep a little bit, this Hydra Drive. But you can see how it spins independently of the spur gear. So I'm holding the spur gear.
Yeah.
And it does, Hydra Drive units do in fact still retain all the slipper pad and friction plate.
Yeah.
So I'm going to show you now.
So the traditional slipper's on it, is it?
Yeah, so it's on the back, because these cars only ever had single side slipper.
Yes, you can see it there.
Not like modern. So the modern cars are sandwiched both sides.
Yes.
The old cars exactly like this.
Yeah.
So instead of pretty much...
Did you say sandwich?
I did say sandwich. Instead of having, if you wanted to take, so the same spur gear, if you wanted to take your Hydra Drive off, and stock racers generally didn't run them, it was simple as taking the Hydra Drive unit off, and then you just put another spigot and a thrust race here for your slipper.
Right.
So it does still have, the spur gear is not connected to the shaft in any way.
Yeah.
It runs on a bearing. There we go. And this is an 84 tooth. There we have our friction plate.
Yep. That locks onto the back.
And our pressure plate. So that goes on, whoops.
Other side.
I'm trying to do it while watching the monitor. It's not working out for me. So we have that locates there. That locates here.
Yeah.
And then we have, sorry.
You're going to take the plate off?
Yeah. And this is the sandwich plate goes on here. And this is what locates on the shaft. See, so that goes on the lay shaft of the transmission.
Yeah.
And that is your slipper. Yeah, that is your traditional slipper.
Yeah.
But what LOSI invented, say, in 1991 at the Worlds, or what they took to the Worlds, was this dampening device. This dampening device, aptly named Hydra Drive. And you can, oh no, it doesn't have a Hydra Drive written on it. This has Team LOSI
patent pending.
Patent pending. Okay. And it's basically two plastic halves and an impeller inside. And the impeller is in fact connected to this shaft. You can see here it does need a seal kit. See, it's a little bit wet. So see how that spins?
So that's spinning the impeller in there.
Yeah, see that center bit?
And you've got some fluid in there, which would be, what weight are you putting into it?
I put 60K.
60,000?
I'm not exactly sure. We didn't sort of have those specs back in the day.
Yeah.
But it was.
So the idea is, as this spins up, it gets to a point of locking up the fluid.
Yep.
And then engages the clutch.
Yeah. So, and it gives a really light static feel. So see that's locked onto the slipper now, those little teeth.
Right.
So the teeth here lock into the recess here.
Right.
And the bearing, so it all free spins on the shaft. Like so.
Right.
And there was 4 spur gears, 84, which was purple, 86, which was red, yellow, which was 88, and 90, which was orange. And I actually am searching around for an 88 or a 90, because I'm having, see the spur gear, this Hydra is actually bigger than the spur. And because I'm trying to run a 15-tooth pinion, it's the grub screw is actually hitting the Hydra. So I need the spur gear to be a little bit bigger.
Right.
But yeah, but that is a Hydra Drive.
Yeah.
And that's the essence of it. So you can see here that's complete, and that's got a viscous feel to it, like a center diff or something. So that will spool up and it'll act like a damper unit for your slipper clutch, much like the shocks, the oil in the shocks acts like a damper unit for the springs.
Right.
So it gives you a really smooth acceleration. Biggest downside with it is that it's quite heavy on the drivetrain. And if you were running a silver can class or stock class, which even like now, like 90% of people run, it was quite an energy drain on the inertia on the drivetrain. Right. So we generally took them off and just run slippers. Yep. However, if you run modified, particularly if the track conditions were, you never took them off and they stayed on the car and they never leaked in years. This one's only just started leaking after, what, 30 odd years.
Would you use it on every track, or was it for like low traction tracks?
No, just leave it on, and
Right.
you just use it like a slipper.
Right.
It just became part of the character in the car, and you forgot how good they were unless you drove somebody's car like without it, and it would just be different. So yeah, so that is the LOSI Hydra Drive unit, very unique to the LOSI XX. Yeah, non-existent now. Probably wasn't as useful then as it probably could be now, actually. Now with our huge LiPos and our massive amounts of power, I think the Hydra Drive would probably be a really good thing on the modern cars.
Do they ever use Hydra drives with hyperdrive systems?
With belt drives?
Because hyperdrive was a belt system. Instead of a spur gear, it had a pulley.
Yeah. Well, Aaron Defina's got an A&L transmission in an RC10, which is belt. Yeah. And I think he has a Hydra Drive on that, if that counts.
So belt.
So
double belt.
So it has a, but yeah, so that is the Hydra Drive unit, and that's just the spring there to force onto the slipper pad. Yes. And you just adjust it on track like any other slipper. Right. But yeah, so that is a Hydra Drive. A lot of people asked. After the bash, I will do a full. Aaron has let me know that he has a rebuild kit, funnily enough, for this. Right. So I will.
What's a rebuild kit come with?
Bisbee seals. Right.
There's
like O-rings. I think there's like 3 O-rings in there, and a couple of like Teflon, like white Teflon seals. Right. Back in the day, they never needed servicing. You built them when you got the kit because they would come completely disassembled. Yeah. You built it with the kit, and if you did it right, you never touched it. Right. You never serviced it. You never changed the oil. They never leaked. But you can see here, there's a little bit of weeping from the shaft here, and that'll just throw out. But it was like nearly empty. Luckily, when I didn't know how I was going to fill it, because there's these 2 ports here for filling and bleeding. Yes. So you take them both out, fill it from one side until there's no air coming out.
Yeah. Bleed it out the other end and then
stop. But there used to be like a sort of special like shock fluid bottle with like a needle tip, and I was quite concerned how I was going to do it. Luckily enough, I discovered that the XTR bottle orifice is exactly a press fit for that little proud shoulder. Right. And it just was a beautiful thing. Right. So it made my life really easy. So filled it up, bled it, scraped out the excess out of the threads. Yes. Because you know what happens when you do up a hydraulic lock on a screw? It breaks. And these are plastic screws, so you have to be so gentle. Yeah. A lot of people, when they built them, just snapped the screw straight in there, and that was the end of the Hydra. But yeah, there you go. A bit of vintage and vintage bash. So I'm not sure if TFG has been. Have you got a special guest, TFG? Can we still call him a special guest?
He's still pretty special.
He's special to me.
Yeah, but I'm not special. I'm not special, and I'm hardly a guest because I work here.
Right.
So, yeah, but you're like a guest of honor. Hang on, I'm going to try and assemble this.
Oh, you got your wig. Your big wig t-shirt on.
How big was your wig?
I had a pretty big wig. I had a big wig. Did you ever see me with my Afro Ken wig?
Oh, yes, I have. Oh, I was quite traumatized. I needed some counselling for several weeks afterwards.
Suffer. You weren't the only one.
Yeah. That was a fine thing. Look at that.
I'm trying to just build this really, really awkwardly.
Yeah. What do you mean? Just putting it back together?
There we go.
Because you have to do it under, because the friction pad can like dislocate and this. So
yeah, it was way too much work.
That's all right. Just tighten it up with a bit of skew.
See, that's why I drove Associated, because I didn't want to have to play with one of these.
Oh, but you wanted to. But in stock, we never used them anyway.
Yeah.
The stock guys never. Stock and silver can never use
them. I wasn't. They
were literally like, most people threw them in the bin at some point.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because they were just useless.
Yeah.
It's only the.
But I agree with what you said earlier, though. I think today that'd be even better.
Just checking it now, and it's that loose. You just do it with your finger. It's not like that.
So that's normal, is it?
Yeah. And that will feel tight on track. When it spools up, it will see how loose it is.
Yep.
Yeah. But when it spools up, drives from the spur.
They were a very clever bit of engineering.
Weren't they?
They were indeed.